Before we jump into the lists, let's keep in mind a few things. Number one, we're going to be keeping the cost down by buying high point per dollar value models. Number two, we're going to be making the list in increments so that you can play as you build up your army. You should not be buying all of this all at once. You will get overwhelmed. Number three, we're going to avoid resin models because Games Workshop resin is bad and overpriced. Number four, we're going to make the list strong enough so that you will not automatically lose your games when you go up to play. It will actually come down to your abilities. And number five, I'm not going to be listing all the good models for an army. If your favorite models aren't here, you can cut something out from my list so that you can run that instead. The Emperor's Children are the Space Marines' third legion. They were known for their absolute perfection as a legion. They were perfect artists, perfect combatants, and perfect conquerors. They got their name from the Emperor of Mankind himself as he admired their martial perfection. Eventually, they turned to chaos alongside half their brothers during the Horus Heresy. The Emperor's Children became the champions of Slaanesh, the god of excess. But they kept the name Emperor's Children as a way to troll the Imperium in a sense. So why should you be looking into the Emperor's Children as an army? First off, they are a brand new army, which means brand new models. A huge range refresh with great looking models is always a great starting point. They are also a fairly elite army, which helps keep the price lower than most other armies in the game. The army also moves very fast and has some great tricks to move around the battlefield even more, which is always fantastic as board control is such a huge part of 40k. They have lots of precision weapons, meaning that you can very easily snipe out key characters from your opponent's army and really hamper what they want to do. The army's melee is good and their shooting is solid thanks to their Noise Marines. They also have some carryover with the Demon Army because of their mixed army detachment with Slaanesh. And finally, the combat patrol is solid, but it's not great. It's just barely good enough to be worth considering 2 for the start of your collection, but definitely don't consider 3. On the other hand, if you are considering starting them, you should be aware of a few things. Emperor's Children have a very small range. This is true for the other Chaos God-specific factions, but Emperor's Children have it very bad. They don't have access to the same range of Chaos Space Marine, Demon Allies, and Chaos Knights that other factions currently have at the time of writing. This will likely change soon, but only having 5 unique non-character units means that your lists are going to be very similar. Also, being a brand new army means that there's going to be a lot of competition to pick up boxes. As everyone clamors for picking up whatever box of Emperor's Children they want, it means that that's going to be a box that you potentially aren't going to be able to grab onto. They also have Chaos Trim, and Chaos Trim in all forms is a very tedious and annoying process to paint. Because Emperor's Children have their obsession with perfection, this makes the pressure to paint them well that much worse. And finally, Fulgrim is probably the worst of the Demon Primarchs. His damage is okay, but it's not enough to be worth his high points cost. He doesn't provide enough utility to the rest of the army to justify the high points, and his massive 130mm base means that he has a very hard time moving around the battlefield. Most walls that you deal with in 40k are going to be about 4 to 5 inches apart from each other, and his 5.1 inch base means that he is stuck unable to move or make good charges. If that's not enough to dissuade you, the army rule for the Emperor's Children is great though. Emperor's Children are natural-born thrill seekers. They get access to advance and fall back, shoot and charge, which is an insanely powerful army rule that makes them impossible to pin down. The small downside of not being able to recharge a unit that you were just in combat with, or double up on what you attack, doesn't really change just how much value you get out of this army rule. Emperor's Children have quite a few good detachment rules that are going to play well with their goals as an army. You could stack army-wide buffs with Dark Pledges, you can reroll advances to get up the board even faster and pair in with that advance and charge that you have, or you can get solid melee buffs right off the rip, and they're all great choices. In this case, we are going to be going with the Peerless Bladesman though. To start off our collection at 500 points, we're going to go pick up a Combat Patrol of Emperor's Children. Like I said, it is a good box, and it's going to be a solid starting point for you. At 1,000 points, we're going to be picking up a second box, and here's where we're going to be putting on a hard limit. While the Flawless Blades are okay, they are not good enough to want to have a maximum amount of them that your army could ever possibly run. Once you start to move up to 1,500 points, you're going to be wanting to pick up a box of Noise Marines, a Lord Cacophonist, Lucius the Eternal, and a Demon Prince. And then finally, as you round out to 2,000 points, you're going to pick up a second Demon Prince and 2 more boxes of Noise Marines. Once you are at this point and you are looking to expand past 2,000 points, I do suggest that you look into the Horus Heresy range for the Deimos Pattern Rhino. It is a fantastic transport and is cheaper than the 40k version of the Rhino. As far as the lists are concerned, at 500 points, it's going to be a Lord Exultant with the Rapture Lash, the Phoenix Power Spear, and Distortion. You're going to be having Infractors, you're going to be having Tormentors, and you're going to be running 2 separate 3-man units of Flawless Blades as opposed to 1 6-man. Distortion on a Lord Exultant prints money. Once you get to buff stacking just all the abilities that this unit has while leading Infractors, you have a model with 9 attacks at 733 with Lance, an extra 8 attacks at 422, all with lethal hits, all of these rerolling wounds, and that is without including the attacks from the Infractors themselves. The Lord Exultant will pick up most units that you charge him to on his own. At 1,000 points, we're going to be basically doubling up exactly what we have. We're going to be running a second Lord Exultant. This one will have Rise to the Challenge instead. And because we can't run 4 units of Flawless Blades, we are going to have 1 6-man unit of them. Other than that, everything else should look pretty bog standard. If you really wanted to, you could probably run 3 units of Infractors and 1 unit of Tormentors just to hold the home field objective, but I do like having the addition of the second unit just so that you can guarantee some good charges by screening out other potential infiltrate units from your opponent that would stop your melees. At 1,500 points, we start to get a little spicy. Despite Lucius the Eternal being able to lead Flawless Blades, you are going to want to have him on his own so that he can maintain his lone op rule as well as his fights first. The Demon Prince with Wings is probably the better version of the Demon Prince for this army just because his ability to apply mortals on his charge is so beneficial, especially when compared with some of the enhancements that you can give him. In this case, we're going to be giving him the Faultless Opportunist so that he is able to get a 0 CP Heroic Intervention, which, since it counts as a charge, I do believe means that you can potentially countercharge with mortals in the event that your opponent decides to charge into you. The Lord Cacophonist is going to be able to lead the unit of Noise Marines, and everything else is same as it was before. And finally, as we look at 2,000 points, we're going to be having 1 Demon Prince on foot with 1 Demon Prince on wings. And then everything else should look pretty standard. It's going to be the same loadout, except you're now adding in 2 additional units of Noise Marines. The Demon Prince on foot is worse in a vacuum than a Demon Prince with wings and Emperor's Children. However, the Demon Prince on foot in a melee-focused build actually has a lot of good potential. Giving extra AP to all your melee units that are close by means pushing your Flawless Blades to AP 4 that always wound on 3s, allowing them to chug through tougher vehicles. Your Infractors going to AP 2 Precision means that they'll be able to reliably pick off even durable Custodes characters in melee, and giving the Demon Prince a 0 CP Heroic Charge while he also has Lone Op means that your opponent can't shoot him off the board and can't charge anywhere near him, making him a very scary mid-board threat. The one thing that you really have to decide here is whether or not you want the Demon Prince with Wings to have Distortion or not. I've left it on the Lord Exultant because I think that he gets a lot of value out of it, but you can kind of do whatever you want with the enhancements from there. And that's going to close things out for the Emperor's Children. The best way to run the Emperor's Children is right now going to be Rhinos and Noise Marines inside of the buff stacking detachment, but I don't think that that does a very good job with the Combat Patrol for getting you started with the army. I do think that the Flawless Blades will probably come down maybe 10 points, and that will start to make them very good, and that will also start to make the melee detachments look more attractive. The Advance and Charge detachment with this build is also not bad, especially since we don't have Rhinos to help move things around more quickly, but because the army is so fast, I don't think that the Rhinos are as mandatory as they might be in something like Death Guard. Big shout out to all of my channel supporters who help make these videos possible, and everyone else who's been generous enough to support me. If you would like to try and help out the channel, please consider the links in the description where you can either check out the Amazon affiliate link or go support me on Ko-fi. Thank you all for watching.